faced off against this team. GAM versus J-Team was, of course, the matchup where these two teams just clashed head-to-head in 18 different team fights in the same exact position. So already getting into the draft, my eyes are on the team fighting drafts for both these sides. If you draft a better 5v5, you've probably got a pretty good chance, Azale.
Are they going to take off the Nocturne, the Kled, these champions that GAM used to really constantly engage to force these fights? J-Team, at least though for them, they are still in control of their own fate. They're sitting at 2-2 in the group, tied now with Splice. A win here would be really, really nice because we have to remember they were the only team out of the 3 to actually get a win off of FPX in that first round robin. So that does give them a slight advantage in this kind of second day.
And of course, now we see Fofo's LeBlanc banned out, as well as the Nautilus from the side of GAM, the Kiana, the Pantheon, all very standard from the side of J-Team. See what they want to take away as the final option. Could be the Nocturne from Levi. He did press R 23 times in that game. It is 2 minutes and 18 seconds of Nocturne darkness, for those of you who are counting.
Ooh.
And the Akali first pick, I honestly love it. I love seeing this champ in the hands of GAM Esports. They do love to pick constant scrappy fights, and Akali feels like the perfect pick to do it.
Yeah, last time they played against each other, the Akali was put much later into the draft. Now I'm looking at the Syndra here for J-Team. Last time they wanted this 4 little V down on the bottom side of the map, went for a first pick on that champion as well, and the flexibility of that type of pick is definitely super, super valuable, but I'm always looking at team fighting one more time, and Gragas does that job absolutely perfect.
Not only does he team fight well, he says, Kled and Nocturne, get away from the rest of my team very, very well. I feel like if we see a similar draft from last time, J-Team are going to be happy to have that Gragas to stop fights from happening when terms are not their own.
Strong engage, strong disengage, gives you magic damage out of the jungle, a lot of flexibility going forward with that. Kai'Sa also, we talk about this a lot, a champion that can itemize defensively very, very effectively against dive. Things like the Zonias that we've already seen come out today against some of these dive style compositions. And I think that J-Team are really trying to cater a little bit towards what they're expecting to come out of GAM.
And that's where GAM is saying we want a little bit more early game skirmish power here with Levi's signature Lee Sin. I'll be honest, I've been wanting more out of Levi, especially in the early game throughout this tournament. But returning to one of these champions that he has looked so fantastic on in the past is going to be GAM's way in the early game to get off to an early lead.
And while Lee Sin can dominate early, we have seen in some of these drafts where they don't have consistent hard engage, they fail to force fights. Like they did against Splice the first time around, especially where they were really relying on some inconsistent engage tools. So I want to see GAM draft some sort of hard engage support that can kind of guaranteed start of the fight.
Right, because right now they don't have any of that. They got an Akali, they've got a Ryze, they have really strong skirmishing power, damage output, maybe even a little side lane action with that Ryze as well, but they will need to bolster up those all-in engages, and that's where J-Team should be banning away stuff like, you know, the Leona or perhaps the Alistar here to remove those from being good options.
And interesting that they've opted to ban the Heimer. Most likely just don't want to play against it, but it would be the 3rd magic damage threat for the side of GAM. But regardless, obviously only bot lane options really need to be limited at this stage, sort of a truly wild flex pick, so that it seems pretty cut and dry for J-Team what they want to take away. Clear to them what the enemy is trying to do.
Yeah, the only real reasoning I can see for banning out this Heimer is you just don't want to allow GAM to have kind of this stable, avoidable bot lane, essentially, where they can sit there with the Heimer, park themselves behind the turrets, because GAM almost always wants to play through their solo lanes and play aggressively in that way, but J-Team very clearly expecting some sort of mage shenanigans to be coming through the bot lane.
And I think with the Syndra banned away, the Heimer and the Veigar, a lot of the options for the champions just below the top tier for the bot lane carries, like the Kai'Sa and the Xayah, they must just think that no other AD carry is really as good as a mage at this point, trying to make sure that Xin is not on one of those options, as the Azir does now get locked in for Fofo in the mid lane, but the Tristana is, of course, up and available.
I do like seeing the Fofo Azir now. We don't think Ryze is going into the bottom lane, so Azir should be comfortable in either of these two matchups with a little bit of a range advantage push as well in those early levels here. So Fofo will be taking that champion, and it fits the bill. Maybe some early game lane priority, perhaps that scaling too that we wanted to see, and the self-peel on the backline to make sure that an Akali can't actually close the gap and then stick to you.
Yeah, I think it's very smart. Azir, while you don't really want to have any sort of all-in fights early, you have such a strong push, and then Gragas can play towards the Renekton, which is going to be a really strong 2v2, and Volibear, this is going to be their form of engage, I guess. You could utilize with the Ryze, the Realm Warp, to try to send you into the backline, and it does give very powerful all-in in a bot lane 2v2.
Yeah, this is anticipation of an All-Star or a Leona, where you can interrupt their jump forward and self-peel for you. So I honestly would be surprised to see the All-Star come in, even though it is such a strong pairing next to the Kai'Sa. Can definitely struggle up against the Volibear, who also has really good early game all-ins, thanks to the passive and the bite. Next to a Tristana, this is a bot lane 2v2 that with early intervention from Levi can pop off.
It really can. If you can actually get that flash fling onto the Kai'Sa, jump on him with that Tristana, the slow comes in from there, Levi coming in as well, it becomes very, very difficult. And as you're saying, you can actually, roar Alistar out of the combo utilizing that E.
Now, the problem with the Volibear is going to be the lack of reliable engage here. You mentioned this earlier, wanted something that could hard force Azael. Volibear, yes, you can get the Righteous Glory. Yes, you can run at people, but you can get knocked away by so many tools. This has to pay off early, otherwise it gets outscaled brutally.
Yeah, I mean, in mid-game, in late game, you're trying to run through Azir soldiers, an Azir wall.
That's no fun.
Gragas can disengage. It becomes extremely difficult to actually get on top of these champions. You really become very, very reliant on Flash, and that is kind of what I think that GAM is going to have to play around. Kick Flash, Flash Fling. Besides that, they don't really have any good ways to start fights.
Rise well, more Volibear into the backline, that's all they've got.
That's a creative answer, Ender. Well, at the end of the day, it's all eyes on the early game for the side of GAM. Need to get something done up against CTBC J-Team as we move into what could be an elimination match for GAM. And here we go, GAM versus J-Team. Third match of the day. Once again, two teams will go home today. Two will advance on to the quarterfinals. And we talked about all eyes in the early game, and I think we just have to talk more about the Volibear because this is... I've seen it as a counter to Yuumi, but the blind pick Volibear just seems so bold to me.
I mean, it certainly is here, but it feeds into this idea that GAM want to attack you in the early game. And I honestly think that Levi has to visit this bottom lane early because level 2, I think even you have these all-in tools with Tristana rocket jump on top of the bomb, as well as Volibear jumping around with 2 CC options on his Q and E. So this could even be a level 2 gank option for Levi, and good vision coverage from J-Team could just make that absolutely not an option.
And if they can get ahead in that bottom lane, then all of a sudden Tristana is able to start threatening these turrets, is able to start utilizing her range and damage on these turrets to start moving around the map and establishing a gold lead, which could allow them to really snowball throughout that mid game.
And of course, if you're Volibear, and it's still the early game when you get Righteous Glory, you kill anyone you see. Past 20 minutes, it's a very different story, but if you can snowball early, it's very easy to keep that ball rolling with a champ like Volibear on your team, but now you see it. Looks like they are setting up for the bottom side. It could just be Krugs for Levi.
Yeah, Levi for a second was actually walking with them towards bot lane, so I was kind of curious, is he just going to walk straight to lane and try to gank right away? With this Krug clear, it is unlikely that I think he would go back towards bot, and you can actually see on the minimap he's cheating up towards those Raptors.
Yeah, Xin also started with E at level 1, so it's much easier to just push that wave away from being a gankable option. Still could be the case, though, that once Levi finishes his full clear, gets his first base off, that is when he could look towards the bottom side of the map, because right now, he doesn't have a lot of good options to play around. Akali not going to be super helpful in terms of setting up ganks in the top side. Fofo very safe to just push and poke down mid lane, so he doesn't really have gank options, he doesn't have invade options. None of the things that Levi likes to do on the Lee Sin are open to him right now.
Pretty much has to be something like an empowered root from the Rise to set up that Lee Sin Q, and then maybe you can get in and try to make something happen on Fofo.
And that looks like this is exactly what it's going to be. Ask and you shall receive, Azael. Goodbye to the Azir and first blood for GAM.
Oh, Fofo thought he was safe. He had a ward in the river, but didn't expect Levi to come over that wall, so he's hugging the side of the jungle that Levi is on.
Double flash there. They just fully committed to it, and that is the kind of play that GAM can really make you worry with. They played this very, very well. It's just the immediate empower, flash, W, sets up the guaranteed Q there, and In he goes.
Yeah, Levi actually flashes over the wall instead of taking the Q that he landed to make sure he could maximize that execute DPS. And now there's even a ward that he ward hopped to that's going to spot out Hana looking for a player on mid himself.
And I also love that E-flash from the Lee Sin, because then if Fofo immediately flashes away, you still have the resonating strike to actually follow after him. And I think that's why we saw Fofo not even bother using the flash there, knowing he was dead.
Honestly, pretty good patience coming in from him, but Levi, once again, trying to make his presence known here in the early game. Will move over, and the Krugs are up and available, but he...
Well, he's counting the CS from Hana, right? You see him show on that ward around your middle lane. You know that he didn't actually take the Krug camp, so Levi is easily able to take that one away. And now his own Krugs aren't going to be spawning around till 4:25 seconds into the game, so he can reset and pick that up super easy.
He was spotted, though, so Hana knows there's no chance of a counter gank. So we'll see if he can actually make something happen. Remember, there's no flash on Rise, and this is a potential E-flash here coming through from Hana, but Kiaya is playing so intelligently towards the top side of the map, so they don't actually know, is Lee Sin in the brush now? Exactly. How close is he? They don't have the ability to make that play.
And even if you jump on him, you can't actually chase him up into that river because you know Levi is on that side. Now, just coming down bottom lane, clearing away some wards, potentially trying to zone away, but you see the instant rotation here from GAM. This team does like to play proactively in the early game, and while we haven't always seen it pay off here so far in the group stage, I like what I'm seeing out of the squad already.
I did also really like that small move from Kiaya down towards the bottom lane. Even when you just step out of vision, you step into that fog, the other team all of a sudden has to respect the possibility of you completing that roam, of what happens if we commit to this dive and then the Rise shows up. So it always makes your opponents play with a little bit more respect, but you have to look at this bottom lane and see, outside of any potential all-in from the Volibear, the laning is not going that great.
Yeah, down 10 CS right now. To their defense, though, top lane going fantastically for Zeros, and Levi has over a full level lead on Hana because as he went back and picked up his second clear of the Krug camp, Hana has nothing to do. His Raptors just went ahead and spawned. Hana not maximizing his farm in the early game has resulted in him slowing down, and that's going to mean Levi, now level 5, will tick over to level 6 first, should be able to finish off the Warrior as well. So these early game skirmishes, any sort of 2v2 or 3v3 should be heavily GAM favored.
And honestly, just GAM have done such a fantastic job of tracking the Gragas in this early game. Hana has not really been able to get anything done. You have to wonder if he had a bit more confidence to push in for that mid gank.
They're going to go for this.
Happened. Rest, level 6. I don't think he wants to dash back into that Renekton. Very bold play. They're going to try to burn him down, but he's just going to try to finish the kill. He's going to grab one. You can't go in on a Renekton like that.
Zeros didn't track that the stun was still up. I think he assumed as soon as Levi went in that the W had been used, and that would give him carte blanche to go back in and actually try to knock him down. But Akali not having 6 and Renekton holding that stun allows him to get that 1v2 kill.
And now Zeros gives up so much of the pressure he had in the lane. Hex Drinker finished off for rest, so his 1v1 is going to be so much easier up against Zeros. Big mistake to go for this fight, even though you know it is a 2 versus 1. The healing off of the empowered Q is just absurd.
It just feels like they needed to slow play it. If you kill a minion or two and he hits 6, maybe you can actually do this, but you for sure needed to wait until the W was used, and that really was the big mistake. If he is forced to use his abilities on the Lee Sin, as Levi is just training him down with the red buff, then you can go in as the Akali with your flash and finish him off.
And it feels to me like that's a mistake you should not be making. Renekton is, alongside Rumble, one of the legendary 2v1 top laners. You do not go up there when he has Rage, level 6, he's healing up, especially when you lack any burst damage, when the Sonic Wave Resonating Strike has already been used. It's going to make it so difficult for Akali, forced to go Seekers early instead of rushing for that Gunblade and having Sustain to help her through this lane phase.
Still going pretty well here for GAM. You can see both Kiaya and Levi leading the gold charts. Now, one thing I would like to draw attention to for J-Team is really smart vision control around the Infernal Drake. There was a ward just over the wall of the pit on GAM's side of the jungle that just timed out that Koala had actually placed. And what that meant was that Levi, on this aggressive early jungler, was not able to look for an early Infernal solo. And had he started that one up, you see he places the control ward inside of the pit. So he actually wouldn't have spotted that at all and potentially could have been punished by a quick collapse from J-Team.
Now Hana, though, going to start the Infernal Drake, is spotted out.
His own control ward didn't spot the one there from Levi. He had no idea. He's like, oh, wait, now I have to leave. Now they can dive top lane. No ulti.
They want revenge. They've got the burst now to potentially finish off the Renekton. He dashes in the wave, gets all of his health back. There's no wave there anymore. They have to try to finish this one off, but still the Renekton is massive. The Hextrigger comes in, and this one's going to turn against them. The Renekton's still alive. Why are they doing this? Rest is outplaying every moment.
Why do they keep going top lane? This guy turns it around every single time, and on top of that, after showing with the Realm Warp, the Infernal Drake that Hana had stopped doing instantly goes over towards J-Team.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. He's pre-ulting, and you're still actually looking for that dive. He's sitting on full rage with his ultimate up, and you give them the freedom to take that Infernal. This is just such a huge win for J-Team. And GAM just feel like they're so over-forcing on this top side. It feels a little bit desperate. They needed to kind of try to wait this out and maybe go on the next wave or wait until the ultimate expired.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure on this team, needing to win with only one win in this group to try and make it out of the group stage here. And throughout the regular season, it was always Levi plus Zeros playing towards the top side of the map, carrying the brunt of the damage in those later game team fights. And they keep throwing resources up here. Now that they're not working, I don't know how this team actually can respond.
Yes, as soon as he pre-ults, honestly, I just don't think you can really go for the dive. If anything, you want to try to look for a play where you start actually proxying the wave and you wait that next 30 seconds to then pull it off, but it's such a big time commitment. This just isn't the way to get it done.
It's just the wrong choice to be going top lane in the first place. Akali was solo winning that matchup. Maybe that changes on the first reset from Renekton, but Zeros was up in CS, and we talked so much about the Tristana Volibear in the bottom lane. We haven't seen Levi even attempt to move down there. They were just passively losing out on CS, and even though level 6s are coming through for this bottom, we know Volibear gets outskilled. We've seen it so much around the world. This champion just falls off ridiculously hard compared to an All-Star.
And it felt like Levi had outplayed Hana in the early game. Pat was able to track here, so see the flash out. Might commit to the play anyway. Beautiful cast comes in from Hana, and right there, Kiaya is going to go down, donating the kill over to Fofo.
That's big for Fofo. He's already up quite a bit in farm, now going to be able to have a kill to his name here also. And Fofo should be getting very quickly towards his first completed item. J-Team just feel like they're winning in every lane.
Yeah, it's just better coordination there between jungle, mid lane, and support. Now Zeros on the roam down. Koala has flash, though.
Koala, I think, needs to flash out of this one. The Ignite now comes down. Koala looks like he's just willing to give up his life in this one. Does not want to use any other resources in the trade.
I think if you're just making the call to give up your life, then hold on to the ult too, right? There's not really any reason to try to have that extra second or two. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But at the same time, it is a kill back here for GAM, so something working for them.
And they wanted to seize that window right there where Levi had finished his jungle item. Now Hana just got him himself. Now it's 3 members in the top lane. Can they do it?
Side, third time's the charm. 3 members is the charm. There's no way Renekton makes it out of this one. The Fury can't be enough. That's the shutdown. Gonna go right over to Levi.
A little sad. I would have liked to see that go to Zeros' Akali. You can't help but feel that would be much more valuable in the hands of that assassin later on. But look at the lead. Levi has 1,200 gold. He needs to use this now to convert into more. Was thinking about starting up the Herald, but with Koala moving his way up here, he gets forced out of the river.
It's a great lead from Levi, but despite the fact that Rest dies, he's still a good 800-900 gold actually ahead of his counterpart Zeros. So I completely agree with you. If you get that shutdown, you're almost back to parity because I believe that was a 750 gold shutdown.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and Rest isn't that far away from finishing off his Spear of Shojin. Once that comes through, how do you even play as Zeros? You're trying to dip in and out of the fog board, but every time you come out, there's a W stun ready for Renekton.
Flips him back, though. The Ouster Trouble already burned the ultimate, too. He's going to feel dumb after that one. Now has to walk out of it, but they're not going to be able to finish the kill. Kiaya, and now it's Slay caught in the middle of the team. Just one very sad, lonely bear knocked out of the fight in an instant.
Even without the ulti on Koala, the Aftershock is still there. He's able to survive for long enough. GAM trying to make the plays 2v2, but they didn't have vision of the enemy jungler, and that's where it all goes awry.
They also just don't have that much damage. The Ryze does not have a completed item. The Tristana does not have a completed item. They are just scraping by. It's really only topside where there's enough bits and pieces to potentially get a kill.
And Tristana wasn't even there. They've actually just moved the Tristana mid lane, so here's the play again. Looks pretty clever with the Hex Flash, knowing the ultimate is down. But as you said, the quick Aftershock proc there, and it's just not enough from Kiaya. As soon as Hana does show up, there's no one there to respond and try to make this a 3v3.
It's actually really unfortunate because you think maybe if that's a Tristana as opposed to a Ryze who has big damage on the ultimate, maybe then you can try to finish it off or at least jump in and close the gap. But Ryze cannot do that, especially not without a flash here. So the game settles down again, and this is where it gets really worrying for GAM because, you know, the last time these teams faced, it was all about the team fights. Well, J-Team have had the more successful early game. They also have really strong late game options with the Azir and the Kai'Sa, so everything seems to be going all according to plan for them.
Yeah, and you look at it, and it's just last time they had the Kled, the Nocturne, the Kai'Sa, they had so many champions that would get into your backline, and it was just a matter of whether or not you could fight them, because they would get there. Volibear, on the other hand, very interruptible.
What you trying to say about Volibear here, Dracos?
He's not actually that good at getting into the backline past 15 minutes, or when he has 0 items at 13 minutes and 20 seconds. So, yes, there's a theoretical world where GAM can just force over and over again, and eventually it'll work. That's what happened last time, but might not be this time as the Hex Splash, not even enough confidence to go right in there. And you can see last time they met, it was GAM slowly but surely chunking away, building a lead.
I love the immediate Herald drop. They're going to be able to get plates here and cash in on that gold. Almost have the turret down also here because Fofo has gotten so much work done in this 1v1. He had already knocked down a couple plates. It's now down to a couple hundred HP, which is going to open up that mid lane. Fofo still has a completely full HP turret that he has the safety to retreat to.
Yeah, all J-Team have to do is keep walking around the map as a 4 or 5 man unit because the only real tangible advantage that GAM do have is in the jungle position. And let's be real, no matter how much more gold Levi has on a Lee Sin over a Gragas, he's still going to be less effective. It's so much harder to execute the Lee Sin in these later stage team fights, especially when you are looking down the barrel of all this self-peeling tools and tanky members that J-Team have put together.
And I just feel like GAM have backed themselves up against a wall with this composition. I mean, just its execution is what it's going to come down to, but they've just put themselves at a disadvantage. They have to be the team to outplay in these fights to come out on top.
They really do, but that being said, see if I can get out of this one.
That's a lot of CC. A good sidestep. Questionable body slam there. Now they might just look to turn. The TPs are coming in. The fight is raging back and forth, and they push the Akali back under. Zeros is desperately trying to escape. Levi trying to save the day. Zeros is still alive. Zeros has managed to make it out. No, the Renekton on the backside. Fofo grabbing yet another kill. GAM have overforced Levi. Doesn't look like he will pay the price, but a nice fight in the end for the side of JT.
Hey, Levi actually made it happen right there. Botched initial engage attempt, though, from Hana is ultimately what enables GAM to try and turn that one around, as well as Fofo's ultimate just pushing Zeros underneath the tower for all that bonus damage.
And despite the fact that so much has really been going well here for J-Team, they're scaling really well, they're playing well. GAM isn't that far behind, right? They're only down 1K, so there is going to be possibilities for them if they really can pull off those proper engages, but Lil V's showing off the early Q evolve. Anytime you have an early Q evolve and you get that isolated damage, as he has, you are going to shred through someone.
How crazy is Levi? Down 2 levels, but there's no ultimate on towards rest. Levi going up and just pushing the wave there. Shamina response now from J-Team. Or potentially a dive down here. Xin very low HP, just over 50%.
And now we finally get to see the defensive capabilities of the Volibear, as he can't Ferocious Forge to deny the headbutt pulverize. That's about all he can do, though.
I thought you were going to say the defensive capabilities as he was running away.
I was ready for that, too.
Oh, wow.
I thought the bear was supposed to run in.
He gets out so fast.
Heyo.
And Levi must be counting down on the ultimate.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence to step up there. And this means that they are going to get some good damage down. Too late to get plates.
Right. GAM just want to keep finding these isolated, smaller skirmishes or pick tools because, remember, they do still have a lot of damage. They're lacking in frontline. They're lacking in reliable engage. That's why we think team fighting is a little bit more difficult for them. But if they find fights around, you know, a strong Kiaya plus Levi, Zeros 2 once he finishes off that Gunblade, should be a whole lot more powerful.
Streamer Shuffle goes in, pushes him right out of the Shroud. There's no chance for the Akali to escape. She's going to have to burn everything if she wants to get out. Zeros will go down.
And you're exactly right, Ender. That's why they keep going to top lane, because they're saying, all right, if we can get Akali ahead, if we can start getting picks in side lanes, then J-Team gets spread. All of a sudden, Azir doesn't have members around them, is much more assailable. But nothing has worked in the top lane. Rest is so far ahead, has the Shojin, as well as the Hex Drinker, has gotten some Turret Blade Gold in the mid lane. And he is just really in a position of power with that rank 2 ultimate.
And that's the really hard thing for GAM is even if they want to commit members towards a side lane, more often than not, right now we see Fofo down bottom side, but later once Baron spawns, it's going to be Rest down here. So he's going to be able to buy so much time that even if he does go down, the combination of Azir plus Kai'Sa can instantly delete that Baron buff. So GAM have to be very creative in how they do find these tools, and maybe hope that later on, if this game does drag out, which it feels like it's going to go a little bit later, the added range of Xin and the disengage tools of the rocket jump as well as that ulti could give Xin the ability to outplay these fights.
There's always the possibility, but the engage on J-Team can be so explosive.
Yes.
It's really tough to react to the body slam flash, to the Q flash from Alistar. So it's going to be tough. But if they can execute on it, if Volibear can disrupt any of that engage with his roar,
keep laughing at him, Dracos. He's going to prove you wrong.
He's one scary bear. We'll see.
I mean, he's got a support item. He's got some shoes on his feet. He's ready to go.
And all right, I'm ready. I'll believe. I'll join you on this magical journey, gentlemen.
Wait. I'm not believing. I'm just saying it might happen.
There's a possibility. But for now, J-Team look to continue to extend their lead. They've already got double Drakes, 6 kills to 4. 1 tower to 1, looking to make it a second one, but still giving Zeros enough respect, not really risking anything, and I think it makes sense. When you look at the scaling, it feels pretty easy for them to move later into the game. Zeros, though, a lot more confident than 1v1. The ult is still up. I feel like he should slow play this one, but is going to dash in anyway. The rest of the team is now here. The Volibear now going in. It is one scary bear using the ultimate, trying to finish this kill off. They dash in, but Rest is still alive. He gets the stun. He's still able to make it out of this one. They want to kill him so bad. Levi will get it, and that's the rampage, but the Alistar goes down, trying to protect him.
Here comes Little B!
Comes in. Levi goes golden. It's a brief break before the fight continues. Now the cask is knocked back. The Volibear gets taken down. A messy fight on the top side.
And it turns into a 2-for-2 at the end of this. We saw the same thing happen in the game versus FPX earlier for GAM, where they find the good initial fight, but aren't able to escape from it at the end. So after spending so much to get those kills, it's just even at the end.
And partially that's because they commit so heavily to these long chases. And when you're chasing someone for 30, 40 seconds, it gives a lot of time for J-Team to walk across the map, to be there to respond, and try to pick up some of these counter kills.
I'll be real with you. I thought Rest could have turned that straight onto Zeros. He was running, waiting for his team to try and show up, but just 1 or 2 auto attacks away from finishing off that Akali. And because of J-Team winning the fight at the end, they should be able to pick up this tower.
Fofo, easy for him to knock that one down. And gentlemen, there is good news. Levi has gotten more money. This is a bit ambitious. He's just going to push him right into the Gragas. That is not the play that they were looking for, but Kiaya still alive. Stun on the way in. The heal has come out. Now they're trying to chase the target down. Volibear is here as well. Hex flash over the wall. Going in, wants to finish the kill. Knocks the Gragas back. That's going to be one. Tristana has the reset. She needs to make it out to safety, but she gets knocked back under the tower. Leaps in instead. He sets his sight on Fofo, but no, Fofo gets it. The shield from the shifting sands barely keeping him alive.
It happens again to GAM, and J-Team are able to punish one more time, finding the big turnaround on both Kiaya and Xin, and they continue to push in other areas of the map too, so winning out more and more. And now Slay better be careful, because this could end up really badly if he gets caught out in the jungle.
Chasing down, breaking open the mid lane, but I mean, this is kind of exactly what you expect when you talk about a GAM game, this back and forth trade. And really, once again, gotta give praise to Fofo. Such a close exchange there between him and Xin.
Wow, Levi has a lot of kills, a lot of gold. He's actually building 3 different items at once right now, so he doesn't have as much power as you would expect for someone who has that much gold in his pocket. It looks like he's going towards a GA, but also a Black Cleaver. He stopped for the Hex Drinker, so it's a little bit of a garage sale going on right now, and he's going to have to wait a couple minutes until he completes some of these items before you really get the most out of that gold he's picked up.
He's certainly a little confused at the moment. I was going to see this one more time. It is a really good turn on towards Kiaya, but he does so much damage. Forces the flash to come through from Fofo, but this is where the collapse comes in as well, because Slay is able to find this initial kill on Tortana, but Koala with the flash forward, Little V as well. I mean, Xin gets punted underneath the tower and just barely misses out on the kill himself. It was just over-ambitious from GAM, but it feels like that is what has to happen, because once again, they have a composition that relies on finding these skirmishes over and over, so they're going to keep doing it.
And that's kind of just their style, right? They haven't really shown us the ability, when you think back over the years, to just kind of play this calm, slow, side lane style game. They overwhelm their opponents through constant aggression, and they depend on their individual mechanics to make these outplays and snowball a game. It's almost always a GAM win through kills, not through objectives.
They're going to need a lot more kills if they do want to find that win as the Cloud Drake goes down. Double Cloud and a steadily growing gold lead for the side of J-Team. No major objectives yet, though. And we've seen, despite the deficit, GAM still very, very willing to force. See if J-Team can continue to match the breakneck pace. Last game they played against each other, that was not the case. See if Fofo can stay alive, the Kaisa can stay alive in these long, kind of drawn-out exchanges.
Well, the question becomes, where can GAM actually play around? Because bottom lane, the difference is massive. 60 CS between the two. Little V now with 3 full items. Xin just barely trying to put the Zeal together into a second.
It's a 3,500 gold lead on Lil V over Xin, and that is just enormous.
X-Flash Bear, they're going to go in, they kick him back, he can't do anything! That's the death brush! GAM still able to find the kill. Greg is fishing for the disengage. The rest of the team on the way in, but he's going to get taken down, and the Bear has finally found purpose in the game, and it is to absolutely eat this Gragas.
GAM need to turn this into a Baron. I almost feel like the game is slowly slipping away from you, so they must force on towards this objective. It's a 5 versus 3 for at least 25 seconds until Fofo can teleport in. They have to be able to zone. No, there's no smite on the other side. They can go for this fight.
3v5. The Baron pit is there. Zero's coming over the wall, fishing for the flank. Needs to find purchase in this fight. They need to get this one down. They have to threaten the Baron, or J-Team don't have an incentive to step forward. Zero's versus Rest on the bottom side of the map, but now the Renekton's in the pit. He's on the backside. He's going to dash right back out. It's slow and it's steady, but members are going to start to respawn. Fofo getting closer and closer. TP up and available. Can move into
TP flank.
3K getting lower and lower. Eyes on the Baron. They're going to leap in anyway. Xin goes in, but the Alistair goes in. The follow-up is there, and Rest has taken out the AD carry. Fofo pushes them all back into the pit. He says, you want it, you got it. It's a clean sweep coming out from the side of J-Team. They have just murdered GAM's dreams.
They got the clean ace, they got the Baron, and you've got to say they have this game. J-Team with so much patience, waiting for Fofo to respond, just buying time, trying to draw GAM off of the Baron so that they wouldn't be able to just focus it down and finish it.
GAM just kept looking when to find the turn, when they could actually make that play happen, but they don't have the engage tools. It's so hard to turn off of that objective. You have to look for the burst down, and in the end, with the TP coming through from Fofo's Azir, this wasn't possible.
We see this play, and this is kind of the dream scenario, right? They're finally able to find this pick. Everyone gets to push their buttons and feel good about these 2 kills, but sadly, from this point on, it does start to go downhill.
I mean, it was a great play, and it's a great attempt. They were already down quite a bit of gold, potentially getting outscaled here. So GAM has to make a play to win the game instead of just to try to hold on. And I think this was the right move to make. But you can see, Kiaya, Xin kind of getting zoned off the Baron constantly as Lil V
hitting it right
forward.
Yeah, they lose a lot of DPS right there where they could have bursted down and then maybe set themselves up for a better turn. But instead, they're trying to burst down the objective while also trying to team fight. That numbers advantage all of a sudden means nothing because of how low Levi was at the start of that team fight because Xin was bursted just immediately.
And it was just great positioning and great presence of mind to know that you don't have to just rush it in. How quickly the Baron is dying. How much time until Fofo is up. They calculated it all perfectly. And
81 damage for
And this is, of course, the damage from just the Baron fight, but the patience was fantastic from the side of J-Team. They only committed to the pit when they saw the Baron was actually potentially going to drop.
I mean, you guys were making fun of Volibear's scaling. He can do just as much as late game Tristana. I mean, it seems really good to me.
Don't do him like that. That's...
I mean, they have to recall. Tristana's still mid lane. Ryze is top lane. They're just going for the base right now.
They're just going to end the game. This is a perfect setup for Azir. The sieging, it's going to be easy for him to continue to poke down. Maybe one final fight for the side of GAM. J-Team running out of minions, a wave behind them.
Again, though, how do GAM force the fight? Like, they got a Realm Warp. Maybe put the Volibear in the back line. This is what we've been waiting for.
Time for an 80 damage Volibear to make his name in the competitive scene. Okay, Slade does not have that cooldown, and they are just slowly getting chipped away.
You gotta do something.
It's the last chance for the Gigabyte Marines. They have to find a fight now. The Gragas has pushed them away from the base. The Renekton clearing the waves in the meantime, but no one wants to go in. The Gragas cooldown being down does give GAM a slight advantage in the fight to come. Still going up against a monumental gold lead and a Baron buff, and BM from Rest. Remember, GAM go out here if they lose. Everything is on the line in this final fight. Continue in. Volibear fishing.
He's still doing it!
Scared. They're just BMing. They're just pulling him back with the Renekton. Just gonna cut down. No, he cuts through the Volibear instantly, and they're setting their sights instead on the Nexus. They don't care about the kills. They want the win. They want their way out of groups. J-Team are going to knock GAM out of the tournament.
J-Team playing a really strong, stable game. And you have to say, Rest really showing up for them, being able to handle so many of these 1v2, 1v3 situations. And once he got that advantage on the top side, it felt like GAM didn't have any other opportunities, any other ways that they wanted to play. They were just so dedicated to putting their Akali ahead, and Rest shut them down completely.
Yeah, they kept doing it. He kept punishing it. And the later we got into the game, the better J-Team worked as a team to punish the aggressiveness of GAM Esports. They were able to continually find, the turnaround fights after GAM, find that initial kill, and it all culminated in that Baron where, once again, it was a 4v5, but J-Team played it perfectly.
They deserve so much credit, honestly, for that Baron. Even a 3v5, both Fofo and their jungler was dead. They managed it perfectly. They timed out the death timers. They were not over-aggressive, and felt like J-Team really did show up in this game.
Absolutely did. And for GAM, you have to feel for them, because it felt to us, at least watching, like they had to go for that Baron. That was the only way for GAM really to get back into the game, but their back was already against the wall, and it really